Hello everyone, welcome back. I am testing out some new equipment today. This is my Polymer 80 G43, the PF9SS. So that's basically the Polymer 80 G43. And what I did is I got a light for it. That's the Streamlight TLR-7 sub. Okay, so that's the TLR-7 sub. This takes only one of those CR123 batteries, right? So instead of having the two batteries that you have in the regular TLR1 that gives you 1,000 looms, this one only has one battery in there that gives you 500 looms. Okay, so basically I'm going to be testing this out. I really don't have any I'm not expecting to make any conclusions as to whether this is good or bad. I'm just going through a testing process. One of the things that did kind of stand out to me is there's the lens in the, well, first of all, the lens does stick out a bit. I guess they really didn't have a choice because of the size of the gun, because the battery is basically from here to here, and they needed someplace to put the electronics and the switches, and they needed some place for a lens. So I suppose this is as small as they could possibly make it and still give it a decent battery to give you 500 looms. So so the first thing that kind of stands out is that the battery, that the light itself sticks out past the muzzle on the Glock 43, which means obviously the holster has to be a little bit bigger to accommodate this. Now, second thing that stands out from the traditional Streamlight TLR1s is it doesn't have the butterfly switch. It has the push button switch, so you push forward, right? So it's a push forward button. They have one on both sides, so you can work this lefty or righty. So it's a push forward switch. It works fine. I always kind of like the butterfly switch on the TLR1s because I could use it in the wintertime with thick insulated gloves. These smaller buttons here are going to be really hard to work with the thick insulated gloves, but hey, I mean, it's a really small carry gun. You know, most likely you probably wouldn't be using this. Realistically, I wouldn't be able to fit a thick insulated glove into this trigger guard, so most likely I wouldn't be using this gun with thick gloves anyway. So the push forward button seems to work fine. Pretty comfortable with that. One thing I did not like about it already, like I said, I'm not really forming any conclusions, but there's one thing that kind of stood out that I did not like. There's if you look on the lens over here, this kind of rotates. Here, let me take my glasses off so I can see it better. Yeah, so if you look over here, there's like, this thing rotates so that there's like an on-off switch. So you can actually rotate this to the off position so that it will not work. And then you really got to make sure that this is turned all the way in order for it to work. And to me, that's just completely unnecessary. There was a couple of times when I was testing this out where I thought I had rotated this all the way, and I had not. And I'm like, okay, why isn't this light working? Okay, and it's because this hadn't rotated all the way. And this is something that can kind of, you know, if it comes loose like that, it's not going to work. So this is completely unnecessary. I mean, I don't know why they did this thing so that you could rotate it off. I mean, I basically, it should have just been on, and that's it. You know, that's all this thing needed to do. Just needs to lock into position. I don't like the thing where you can rotate it off, and then the light just doesn't work. So that's one thing that stands out that I did not like. So, so again, this is the TLR-7 sub for the Glock 43. They do make a TLR-7A, which I think is just like a little bit bigger or whatever. What I did is, right, because here's the thing, you know, having a light is kind of useless if you don't have a holster that will fit the gun, okay? So what I did is I had been carrying this Knightfall holster, right, for a couple of months now, and I actually did a review on the Knightfall holster for the Polymer 80 Glock 43. This has been working great. It accommodates the tall sights. It accommodates the optic. So what I did is I contacted Knightfall, and they were really good about getting back to me, right? I contacted them and I asked them, I told them, listen, I want to buy a light for my Polymer 80 Glock 43, my PF9 SS. What light do you guys recommend so that it will fit your holster, right? Because these are guys that know these things, right? So I asked them. I asked them to tell me which light I should get that would, because this will take either the TLR-7 sub or the TLR-7A. But it's kind of point, there's no point in me getting a light that's not going to fit their holster. So what they got back to me, and they said they told me to get the TLR-7 sub, and they told me to because basically what you want to do is you want to talk to them. They told me, I think, to order the TLR, just the TLR-1, and for the Glock 43 Polymer 80, and in the notes to say that I had spoken to so and so over there, right? And they had pre-approved changing this to the TLR-7 sub. Okay, so that's the way I went about getting this and making sure that this Polymer 80 G43 with this light was actually going to fit the holster, right? Because you need, the gun's kind of useless if it won't fit the holster and you cannot carry it. So that's how I ended up going about this. So one of the things I've been doing today is I've been practicing my draw stroke. And the thing is that because now you've got a gun with a light on it, there's more things that need to line up in order for it to go into the holster. So yeah, it takes a little bit more practice. And here's the thing, I mean, there was plenty of times where I was just having a hard time getting it into the holster. I mean, I realized that, that's mostly me, me needing more practice, but it's also fact that, hey, now you got a small gun with a light on it, and now there's just more things that just gotta be in the right spot, okay? All right, you gotta practice getting it back in the holster. That's working fine. Let me lower the light a little bit. I normally keep my light, because this is my carry gun, I keep it at sunny day brightness, and that's fine. I can still, even though it's really sun's going down now, at sunny day brightness with both eyes open, I can still, even though it overwhelms the target a little bit, I can still see the target, and then this way it's also ready for sunny day brightness. However, for the purpose of these tests, I am going to lower it a little bit. All right, there you go. There you go. The realistic situation, I was having a little bit of hard time getting the gun with the light back in the holster, so it's one of those things you guys just keep practicing. All right, there we go. There we go. So, all right, put a magazine there. We'll do a couple of live fire shots, and then what I'm doing is the sun's starting to go down. I'm wait for it to get just a little bit darker, and then we'll test the light out. In fact, what I'm doing, since the sun is setting down a little bit now, I'm actually going to use the light to light up the target, and this way I'm kind of getting a little daytime practice using the light. This way when it does get a little bit darker, I will already have a little bit of practice with it. Put my ears on. One of the things I'm finding is as I'm pushing forward, go on this side. As I'm pushing forward with my thumb, these two fingers here, kind of like get in each other's way. So pushing forward with this thumb, all right, you can see how my finger comes through the trigger guard, right? See how it comes through the trigger guard? Well, that's basically where my thumb needs to be. So the two fingers are sort of interfering with each other when I, so it's coming through the trigger guard, and basically I'm trying to kind of push into my finger. So again, I've always had the opinion that unless it's a full-size duty gun, right? Like my home defense, because my home defense guns, let's say is an AR-15. My backup gun is like a full-size Glock 17 with a light on it. The guns, it's got that butterfly switch. On my carry guns, right, on my Glock 43, I normally don't have a light on it. The reason why I've never had a light on this is because I felt that in the self-defense type of situation, or even before, I'm having a little trouble getting, there it goes. In a situation where you're sort of threatened, you can't use the light on your gun to look around and identify a threat, right? So I have to kind of use my backup light, right? So you gotta use your light, right? And then once you identify a threat, then you go to your gun, okay? So you've already identified that there's a deadly threat with the light, and that you need to use deadly force. So at the point that you go to the gun, are you now fumbling? Are you pulling the trigger? Are you like putting your dot on target, or your sights on target, and pulling the trigger? Or are you gonna sit there and start fumbling with the light switch? You've already identified it. You have a general idea of where it's at. I mean, even if it's dark outside, remember, you already start with the light, with this light, right? So you know where it's at. You see the outline. You already saw the knife or the gun or whatever weapon they have. All right, now you go to your gun. My feeling is that in most cases, you're gonna just go straight to your trigger. You're not gonna go from this light to the light on your gun to your trigger. You're just gonna go straight from this light to your trigger. That's always been my feeling. But I said, hey, you know what? Let's actually test it out and see how it works. You know, so that's why I got the light, this TLR-7 sub for my Glock 43. I got a holster to match it up. And I'm just going through the steps and seeing how this actually works out. Okay, so yeah, again, the sun's starting to go down a little bit. I kind of timed this perfectly with the lighting, right? Because the sun's starting to go down a little bit. I'm curious what it looks like behind the camera, how much light you guys are seeing. Yeah, okay, so you can see it's starting to get a little bit darker. The camera's actually illuminating a little bit better, so to you guys it looks a little bit brighter than it actually is to me. So again, let's practice a little bit while we still got a little bit of daylight. Go out, get the light on. So definitely, these two fingers are definitely interfering with each other. This thumb pushing forward on the light, and this finger over here are pushing it to each other. And what happens is, every time I pull the trigger and the gun goes bang, from the recoil, I end up coming off the light switch. So that's just a practical. You know, that's just the practicality of it. I don't know if they could design the gun any better, or not the gun, but the light any better, because it's small. It has to be there. I guess maybe they could put it on the side or something. But here's the thing: that's not the way you normally hold the gun. The way you normally hold the gun, your thumb is going to land right there. So that's probably the optimal place for them to put the light. But the problem is that's also the optimal place for my finger to be. So you can see how my finger is blocking that button, which is now hard for me to push forward. I have to kind of hold it. I mean, I guess I can modify my technique a little bit and hold it a little further out. That's kind of what I've been doing, just because I have no choice. There's really no way I can pull the trigger and keep the light on. I have to kind of pull my finger out and just kind of use the tip of my finger a little bit. And you guys out there watching this, if you own this combination, a TLR sub on the Glock 43 or a similar gun, let's say something like the SIG 365, and if you had a chance to practice this, let me know how you guys do it, because I'm definitely seeing interference here. The two fingers are fighting each other. One finger, my thumb's pushing forward, fighting for the light. My other finger's fighting, trying to get the trigger, and the two fingers are hitting each other. There's no way I can shoot this gun and keep the light on. I'm curious. Let's see, there is an option here. I believe if you hold on. Trying to see, there's a way for this light to stay on. All right. Okay. So I remember reading the instruction down. If you hold the light down, right, it stays on and then it comes off. Right. So right now I'm holding the button down, goes on, stays off. But if you push it and take your finger off, it just stays on. Push it forward, keep your finger on, it stays on. I'm going to try shooting it that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just push it, turn the light on permanently, and then shoot the gun like that and see if that works out better, so my fingers aren't fighting with each other. Okay, so let's try that. So put my holster, come out, put the light on. that's working better, but then you just gotta remember to take it off. See, I've always, like when I shoot a rifle, I usually don't put the light on. I just press the pressure pad or hold the button down, fire my shots, take my finger off, because I'm able to get on the light faster, get off the light faster, get on the light faster, get off the light faster. With this gun, with this combination, right? This Glock 43 with this TLR-7 sub, it seems like the better way to operate this gun is to just press the button, get the light on, fire your shots, then manually, basically push the button, take the light off. I mean, I think that's the way this is gonna have to work. It's just that you have to be more conscious. You have to be more conscious about remembering to turn the light off, because I'm used to turning the light on, but I'm not used to having to take the light off. Usually, after I'm usually, as soon as I relax, my finger comes off the light, and the light's off. So now I have to remember, fire your shots, then push the button again. So it's adding that extra step. So it's no longer just push the button, fire your shots, and then just take your fingers off the buttons, and you're done shooting the gun and the light's off. You have to push the button, fire your shots, push the button again. So it's adding that extra step. Again, I'm going through this live. I'm learning this. You guys are watching me learn this process live here. So definitely a little bit harder getting in and out of holster with the light, just because it's there's more things there. It's more of a learning curve. No question about that. Forgot to take the light off. I mean, I'm sitting there. I'm reloading the gun with the light on, in a realistic, let's say, self-defense type of situation. That light that stays on pretty much tells everybody where you're at. So ideally, you don't want the light on any longer than you need it in a tactical type of situation. So I'm gonna wait until it just gets a little bit darker, and then we'll do this again. Okay, we'll take a couple more shots. But those are my initial impressions. The gun, the light, the holster seems to be working fine. It's just that there's a pretty big learning curve, right? Part of the learning curve is just getting in and out of the holster, with the light on the gun. So that's a little bit of a learning curve. The other learning curve here is, I'm used to working the larger TLR-1 lights with the butterfly switches, that I can fire the gun and just keep pressure on that butterfly switch and just keep it on. What I'm finding here is that I got to work the light differently. I have to push the light on, fire the shots, push the light again to turn it off. So there's a learning curve there. I gotta just practice more with that. So let me pause this, wait for it to get a little bit darker, and then we'll see how it looks as it gets a little bit darker. I'll talk to you guys real fast. All right, so it looks like it got a little bit darker. Let's fire a couple of shots. We're gonna try and hit two targets. We'll go. There's two targets there. We'll try to go back to back, one to the other now. Come out, light on. So I'm trying to remember to turn the light off. There you go. Having a little bit of a hard time getting the gun in the holster. It'll probably take a lot of practice. The coming out is easy, right? So I guess it's not that bad because we're always in a, I mean, I can see us being in a rush to get the gun out of the holster. It's never that much of a rush to get it back in, although I do tell people that in a self-defense situation, if you're out, you want to basically, get the gun back in the holster as quickly as possible, because other people on the scene don't realize what's going on. And if they see you with the gun, they might think that you're a threat, that you're the bad guy. So as soon as you do your scan assess and you feel confident that there's no additional threats, you want to get the gun back in the holster as quickly as possible. Another reason why I always recommend practicing that scan assess is because it breaks tunnel vision. kind of kickstarts your brain to think, what do you have to do next? The next thing you got to do is get the gun in the holster so you don't get shot by a cop or some other concealed carrier that thinks that you're the bad guy. All right, let's do a little bit more shooting here. So I'm just going through the steps of remembering. The main focus of this drill now for me is remembering to turn the light off. All right, that's what I got to remember. Remember to turn the light off, because that's not something that I'm used to doing. I got to turn it off. I tell you, I was carrying this gun, this gun with the light in this holster all day. I was actually doing some work on my tractor, you know, which is obviously in that sitting down position, and I didn't feel like it was uncomfortable. I didn't, you know, because obviously the holster has to be a little bit bigger in order to accommodate the light on the gun. You know, like I've been carrying, I was carrying the Shield 9 for, you know, the Smith & Wesson Shield 9 for almost a year. That's slightly a bigger gun. And I always found that gun to be a little bit too uncomfortable to carry, especially when you're sitting down, right? When I was doing work on the tractor or driving, I felt that was a little bit uncomfortable at times. The Glock 43, I find to be a lot more comfortable to sit in the seat with, you know, and do, you know, driving work or tractor work. So I was worried that with this light, you know, with the bigger holster, that it would be less comfortable for me. But today I didn't feel that. I mean, it's still, I mean, it's obviously the holster's a little bit bigger, but still small enough. The light's small enough, so it's really not that much of an issue, even though it does stick out a little bit, right? That light still, the light does stick out by about whatever, half an inch or 3/4 of an inch. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be carrying this combination for a couple of days, and then after a couple of days of just carrying this, I am going to switch back to my other gun with my other holster that doesn't have the light on it. On this one here, yeah, I can put the light on so you can saw. In a couple of days, I'm going to switch back to this gun with this holster, which is non-light bearing, and I'm going to see how much of a difference I feel going from a light bearing holster back to a non. And this is also Knightfall, so this is the same company, same holster. The only difference is that the one I'm carrying now is, you know, is basically, it's light bearing, so it'll take that TLR-7 sub. So I'm starting to get a good sense of where I'm at with this light. Biggest challenge is remembering to, you know, remembering to turn the light off. I mean, also just getting on target, just because I'm pushing the button. I'm finding that I'm pushing the button as I'm coming up to the target, just because there's, you know, as I'm on my way out to the target, I am pushing the button. And I kind of have to, because if I wait until I get there to push the button, and now my thumb and my trigger finger are trying to go to the same place. So what I'm doing is the technique I'm developing, right? Because I'm kind of figuring this out as I go along. The technique I'm developing is that as I present, I turn the light on, then I get my sights on target, fire my shots, and then I try to remember to turn the light off. So I come out, turn the light on as I come out, right? Then remember to turn the light off. So, really interesting. You know, a good exercise. Like I said, I'm turn the light on so you guys can see me a little bit better. So I'm basically just trying to figure this stuff out. I've had lights on my G17s and G19s before, but I've never had a light on the Glock 43 or a gun this small. So just trying to figure out and see how I'm going to make this work for me. And that's what I'm saying. As you come out, you have to turn the light on, get your thumb out of the way, right? Thumb's got to get out of the way. And then you just got to remember to turn the light off. One of the things that I am also finding, put the light on here it is my index finger is also hitting that button. So right there, as I'm coming, because remember, I put the light on, right? Put the light on. Then as my finger comes through, I'm finding that my nail is hitting that button over there, which, because I fired a bunch of shots already, so that's starting to hurt my nail a little bit. So, I mean, it's not like my nail's going to come off or anything, but that's definitely a point of interference where I'm hitting the nail as I'm trying to get to the trigger, right? You see how it's hitting it as it goes in. It's hitting this as it goes to the trigger. So things to be aware of, things to consider if you guys are thinking about getting something like this. You know, these are things you're gonna have to work through, figure out how you're gonna make this work for you. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you got any suggestions, comments, put them in the comment section. I would love to hear from you guys. If you're not a member of my channel, subscribe. Talk to you guys soon.